What has been promised has now come to you. Daʿwat al-Rāfiḍīyah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله دائما على أعدائهم ومنكر فضائلهم أجمعين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية السيد ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن أعداءهم أجمعين. Dear respected viewers, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I extend my sincerest condolences on this tragic night, the first night of Laylat al-Qadr, the night where the martyrdom of Imam Ali alayhi salam started, where Ibn Muljim la'natullahi alayh struck Imam Ali on his blessed head with his poisoned sword, which eventually led to his demise. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll have more knowledgeable people talk about that in a later video, but tonight I'm going to be discussing the specific a'mal and rituals that we perform based on the hadith of the imams during the nights of Qadr. Might not be a lengthy video, but inshallah I'll cover the main stuff that we can obviously uphold during these holy nights, just so for everyone to get a refresher and inshallah ta'ala hold on to them as well. Firstly, we need to understand the benefits of Laylatul Qadr. So what is the importance of this blessed night amongst the other nights throughout the whole year? In a narration from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, someone asked him about Laylatul Qadr, and he said, on it the angels, the spirit Jibra'il and scribes and descends to the earthly heavens. They record what will happen in the course of the year and what afflictions will befall the servant therein. He continued, the affairs are determined by Allah on this night. He brings forward what He wills and delays what He wills. This is as mentioned in His saying in the Holy Quran, Allah eliminates what He wills or confirms, and with Him is the mother of the book. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this holy night determines what will happen to His believers and the ones who submit to Him for the rest of the year. Meaning what? Meaning it is an opportunity for the believers like yourself to spend this night asking sincerely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance, forgiveness, and for essentially anything you want, which we'll get to in 1 second. But without any more delay, I want to tell you about some of the actions that you should be doing on this holy night. The first thing is staying up. What does staying up mean? Obviously, staying up to firstly perform these a'mal. Secondly, staying up until Fajr and even a little after Fajr. It's mentioned in narrations of Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam again that says, whoever stays or revives the night of Qadr, his sins will be forgiven even if they were as numerous as the sky's stars and the pebbles on the mountains or the drops in the oceans. Continuation into another hadith, he says, whoever coincides with the night of Qadr and observes it with worship, Allah will forgive his past sins and his future sins. So that's the benefit of staying up during these holy nights of Qadr. Now secondly, whilst you're staying up and you're performing your ibadat, it's best to perform ghusl or ritual bath on the 9th of Qadr. In a narration found from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, perform ghusl on the nights of the 19th, 21st and 23rd of Shahr Ramadan and strive to observe them in worship. Meaning what? Meaning you take your ghusl, and once you performed your ghusl, you try and maintain this ghusl until the whole night is finished. Of course, anything ascribed by the Ahlulbayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam has a benefit, even if you don't understand it. But logically speaking, what would be a better way to stand in front of your Lord on the night of nights, on the King of all nights, and ask for anything rather than being in a state of ritual purity? So make sure you perform your ghusl before you actually go to the masjid and observe this other a'mal that I'm about to mention. Arguably, the biggest a'mal for these holy nights is the 100 rak'ah prayers. Now, what the 100 rak'ah prayers entails is it's based on a narration of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said, "Whoever performs 2 units of prayer on the night of Qadr, reciting Al-Fatiha in each unit and saying Surah Al-Ikhlas 7 times, then upon completion seeking forgiveness 70 times, as long as he does not leave his place of prayer until Allah forgives him and his parents. Allah sends the angels to record good deeds for him for another year, and he sends angels to plant trees, build palaces, and make rivers flow for him in paradise, and he will not depart this world until he sees all of that." So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given us the benefits of praying this lengthy prayer. Now the method, as was mentioned by the Holy Prophet, is you do 2-unit prayers until 100 rakats, and in each prayer you recite Surah Al-Fatiha and Surah Al-Ikhlas 7 times. So Surah Al-Fatiha once and Surah Al-Ikhlas 7 times up until you reach 100 rakats. There are of course other methods that has been ascribed by scholars based on the hadith of the Ahlulbayt alayhim salatu wassalam, where you perform 6 days worth of salat. What do I mean? 6 days worth of salat, starting with Fajr, ending with Isha, and you perform that as qasr. So if you've missed not qasr, sorry, qada. If you've missed prayers during out the whole year, this is a time for make it up. This is actually obligatory. So you pray as you would normally every single day. You pray each single prayer different as you would normally, and you do that for 6 times. Now the math on that is, I think, around 102 rakats by the end of it. So for 6 days you perform that. So you have an option. You can either do it the 2-unit prayer up until 100, or you can do the 6 days worth of prayer up until 100 rakats. The next a'mal that you should be doing is obviously reading the Holy Quran. Reading the Holy Quran. And specifically, there are a couple verses that you should be reading and a couple surahs that you should be reading. The first surah that you should be reading is Surah Al-Ankabut, the surah of the spider. And it is mentioned in a narration of Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam, "Whoever recites Surah Al-Ankabut and Surah Al-Rum in the month of Ramadan on the 23rd night, by Allah, he is among the people of paradise. I do not exempt anyone from this, nor do I fear Allah will record any sin against me. Surely these 2 chapters have a special place with Allah." So yes, the first surah is Surah Al-Ankabut, and the second surah is Surah Al-Rum. So the surah of the spider and the surah of the Romans. The other surah that you should read, shocker, is the surah that was revealed about this holy night. Surah Al-Qadr. Inna anzalnahu fi Laylat al-Qadr. And you should be reading this surah 100 times. Okay? And this is again ascribed to us by who? By Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam, where he said, if a man recites on the 23rd night of Ramadan the verse of Inna anzalnahu fi Laylat al-Qadr 1,000 times, he will wake up in the morning with strong conviction, acknowledging what is specially designated for us, and that will not happen except for something he experienced in his sleep. So, recapping, read Surah Al-Ankabut, read Surah Al-Rum, and read Surah Al-Qadr 1,000 times. We're not done with the A'mal of the Quran, and I will get to the A'mal of the Quran in 1 second. The next thing you should be reciting, brothers and sisters, is the Ziyarat of Aba Abdullah alayhi salatu wassalam. In a narration from Abu Ja'far al-Thani alayhi salatu wassalam, it is mentioned that whoever reads or visits Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam on the 23rd night of Ramadan, which is the night hoped to be the night of Laylat al-Qadr, in which every wise matter is decided, will be greeted by 24,000 angels and prophets. All of them seek permission from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to visit Hussein alayhi salam on that night. Brothers and sisters, do not neglect Ziyarat al-Ashura. If you can visit Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam in person and you can do dua inshaAllah ta'ala at his holy shrine and keep us in your du'as inshaAllah, then that's obviously more recommended. But for most of us in the West, reciting Ziyarat al-Ashura is the closest we can do. So do not neglect this holy supplication during these holy months. And especially on this night, as the narration I just mentioned, 24,000 angels and prophets, all of them seek permission from Allah to visit Abu Abdullah alayhi salam on this holy night. Going back to the Holy Quran, we have tawassul. Tawassul through the Holy Quran. What do I mean? Okay, this one I'm going to explain very slowly, just so you understand very clearly. In a narration found by Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, take the Quran and place it on your head. Then say, O Allah, by the right of this Quran and by the right of the one you sent with it, by the right of every believer who praises you in it, and by the right upon them, no one knows your right better than you, O Allah. Then you say 10 times, Bika ya Allah. You say that 10 times with the Quran on your head. Then you say Bi Muhammadin 10 times. Then you say Bi Aliyin 10 times. Then you say Bi Fatima 10 times. Then you say Bil Hasani 10 times. Then you say Bil Husayni 10 times. Then you say Bil Ali ibn al-Husayn until you reach the name of Imam Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman, Ajalallah farajahu al-Sharif. When you reach the name of Imam Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman, you do not mention his name. You say what? Bil Hujjati. May Allah hasten his reappearance. Bil Hujjati 10 times. After you have completed this, Wallahi al-Azim, if you ask sincerely for something, Allah will give it to you. This is what the narration says. Then ask for your needs. Ask for whatever your need is. Whether it be money, whether it be khair in this dunya and the akhirah, whether it be for forgiveness, ask for it using this method. The other a'mal that we do, which is a lengthy one, is reciting 2 specific du'as left for us by Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam. The first du'a is du'a Abu Hamza al-Thamali. And the second du'a is du'a al-Jawshan al-Kabir. Now, I don't unfortunately have time to give you the backstory and the history behind these du'as, but in a brief shell, in a nutshell, these du'as are lengthy in their words. However, they're in depth. Wallahi al-Azim. For a believer, these du'as is the best tools you can have. These are the best weapons against evil. These are the best weapons against shaitan, against fighting yourself, against fighting the nafs. So do not neglect Dua Abu Hamza Thamali and Dua Jawsh al-Kabir in this holy night. The very last thing that you should be doing during this holy night, brothers and sisters, is asking for the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now we know that Shahr Ramadan is the Shahr of mercy, as we've discussed in previous videos, and inshallah in future videos we will talk about the actual mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this holy month. But narrations of the Imams alayhim wassalam says that if you are sincere in asking forgiveness, Allah will forgive you. If you are sincere in your actions, brothers and sisters, Allah will forgive you. More than that, it's the nights where you can ask for anything and Allah will grant it to you. Of course, asking for the halal. You ask Allah for money, He will give it to you. You ask Allah for a righteous partner, He will give it to you. You ask Allah for ziyarat of the ma'soomeen, He will give it to you. In fact, there's a narration of Imam Ali alayhi salam that says that whoever asks for Hajj in this holy night, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant it to him. Remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this holy night plans out the year ahead of a believer. So whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills, He will write it down this holy night. Brothers and sisters, I've dragged this video on for longer than it needed to be, but inshallah ta'ala, if you have any questions, please join the Discord server. We'll be more than happy to answer for you. Or leave a comment and inshallah we'll get back to you on that as well. But if you didn't understand a certain aspect that I mentioned or a certain ritual that I mentioned, do not hesitate to ask us in the comments or in the Discord server, and we'll be more than happy to break it down for you. With that being said, inshallah ta'ala, your Aamal is accepted tonight. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.